Hey, Husker fans, welcome back to the Husker Big Red YouTube channel. And we are live here Saturday night following a Nebraska win, which is a nice change of pace over the last couple of weeks. But just a great performance from the Huskers overall, 35-11, 35-3 there to the last drive where Northern Illinois, kind of got one in there on the in garbage time. But it was a great effort overall from Nebraska. I mean, it was a competitive game throughout, but 14 play drive in the second half. Heinrich Harburg, did a pretty great job. 3 touchdowns overall, two through the air, no interceptions, the one turnover. So, yeah, we're here to talk about our gut reactions. So, Danny, what's your gut reaction to this 35-11 win for Nebraska tonight?
Heinrich Harburg has to be the starter next week against Louisiana Tech, and there is officially a quarterback competition for Nebraska football. I'm not sure any of us saw it playing out this way, but one of the things that hindered Nebraska in previous years was the over reliance on Adrian Martinez and the lack of a quarterback competition in the room to challenge Martinez. This is not going to be the case, in my opinion, with Sims and Harburg. And Harburg really played well. I mean, he really played well. He didn't fumble snaps. He looked confident in how he ran the offense. He showed off, his running ability that we were talking about a lot. And, I'm not crowning him, a Heisman Trophy candidate or, the Heisman Trophy favorite, but he made plays when he needed to, and he didn't make take too many risks in terms of throws. He just took what the defense gave him, moved the chains forward, took care of the football, and I was in one of my group chats earlier tonight, and they made a good point that that's what we did tonight is what Iowa and Wisconsin have done for years and years and years. A very strong defense and an offense that's not necessarily the most explosive, but can move the chains and get in the end zone and get the job done. And that has led to success. And, I definitely see a winning blueprint there. And that's what Nebraska did tonight.
Definitely, I definitely agree with all that. I did want to mention before, we get more into it. Make sure that you guys, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. If you're watching on the replay later, make sure you hit subscribe. Comment, what your gut reactions are. Join us in the comments now and hit that like button. It definitely helps us out. But I definitely like what I saw from the quarterback position tonight. And one thing I thought, especially the last 2 weeks that Jeff Sims didn't do well outside of the turnovers, right, is the red zone execution and the third down execution. And tonight, I think Harburg and the Huskers, not just him, but they were 8 of 14 on third down, which I think is a sign of a good quarterback. And then they also converted, I believe, almost every time in the red zone when they got down there inside the 20. So they were effective, and a lot of that was being able to run the football. We saw a lot of I formation in the second half, and I really like that. It seemed like the running backs, really thrived, and people said like, "Where's the fullback?" And the fullback was there in the second half, and um, that proved to be really effective with Irvin and Anthony Grant. And yeah, it's Heinrich, yeah, it's his deep ball, I'm not, wasn't spectacular, but he made some nice throws. He had a couple of good throws to Washington. And I thought one of the best plays of the night, and a really big play when it was still a 14-3 game. He rolled right on that, it was like 3rd and 12, and zipped it to Fedoni, who made a great catch. And I
Over
think
by the
from
sideline.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, and I mean it's still only 11-point game, and after that, it just that was they kind of finished off that 14 play drive. They converted some other third downs, and he just did exactly like you said what they needed to do. It looked like a Matt Rhule kind of that formula he talked about. They were in the 4-minute offense a lot in the fourth quarter. They had the one turnover, but I mean you can live with one as opposed to four that we had the last 2 weeks. They ran the football a lot and dominated over 200 yards rushing. I think Northern Illinois had maybe 20. I mean, it was like 19 on the last drive, and they maybe had 20 some yards rushing. So that was a spectacular effort. And yeah, if Nebraska's offense can play the way they did tonight, this team can still, win a lot of football games this year. And this defense is going to keep them in a lot of football games.
And yeah, Nebraska had 5 penalties, but especially on the offensive side of the football, none of them felt like they were dooming drive killers. You know what I mean? I mean, penalties are going to happen in football, but we didn't really have any what I would call, costly penalties in the red zone that I can think of at the moment. And I think too the Fedoni Harburg connection is going to be something to watch out for. You hear me all the time, probably on these things, preaching tight ends, throw to tight end safety valve, blah blah blah. Well, Harburg and Fedoni, 2 touchdown catches in 2 games based off of that connection. And, it's good to see, Fedoni kind of really start to find his groove here and make an impact. Tight ends coach Josh Martin said earlier this week that the tight ends are starting to, see their stock rise. And I believe he said that he predicted Fedoni to break out this week. And he had another really strong game. And it's really great to see.
And yeah, it's interesting. You saw more. Gabe Irvin caught 2 passes for 20 yards. Fedoni had 4, for 42. So the tight ends kind of getting involved. Marcus Satterfield calling a lot of those kind of that screen on the 3rd and long to Alex Bullock that he, broke out was a big play. But you had 3 different receivers that had, receptions of over 20 yards, Fedoni, Bullock, and then Marcus Washington. So they were able to kind of create some explosive plays, and then they were able to create some explosive plays in the running game too. So that was the formula. I mean, I don't think anybody's ever going to confuse, this offense with, USC. I wrote in my takeaways on HuskerBigRed.com. Nobody's going to confuse this offense tonight with USC, but when you have the defense playing the way that Nebraska is. And I mean, they played one of the best offenses in college football last week, and they more than held their own for the majority of the game. So I feel like, most teams in the Big Ten that they're going to be Nebraska's defense is going to be able to hold people to, 15, 20 points. And that's going to give you a chance to win almost every single week. Now, can the offense play mistake-free football and do the things they need to? That's still a question we need to see. This is just Northern Illinois, but it was a good step in the right direction.
I have to say, it almost seems like Marcus Satterfield's play calling gets better as the game goes on because it's like the first half, he drives me absolutely up a wall. Like I want to like smash my TV into a million pieces when it comes to his play calling in the first half. But then he kind of gets his groove a little bit and has these long drives that drain the clock, run the football. He kind of figures it out, and you know tonight it worked. I just love to see a a fully consistent game in terms of his play calling, and then I would feel a little bit better. Sometimes I feel like he's making it too hard on himself and the offense, but hopefully he can get those things sorted out.
I liked the game plan overall, and I like that they gave Harburg 21 attempts. I don't think that they meant to. I think a lot of it was read option type plays, but I think he wasn't afraid to run the ball when that was the correct read. Gabe
He put
Irvin,
his head down a lot.
yeah,
Harburg did.
and he hit people a lot,
Yeah,
and that was, I just liked his attitude. He's just tough, and he's a Nebraska kid, and it wasn't flashy. And Nebraska should beat Northern Illinois. Let's not act, like this is a groundbreaking win, but it just was the way, that they went about it. They
yeah.
didn't need, some luck in the fourth quarter. Or, it wasn't sloppy. It was exactly the kind of game that they needed to play. 382 yards to 149. I mean, that's an ass kicking. When you outrush somebody 224 to 26, that's an ass kicking. And so they did exactly what they needed to do. And Rocky Lombardi only got sacked 3 times, but he was under a lot of pressure. And I thought, again, that defensive front, man, those guys are impressive.
Yeah, and I think the reason why we're all excited about it is because it was a what I call a blueprint type of game. Like this is what we want to see out of Nebraska. Like this is how they can win games and this is how they can be successful. The first 2 games it felt like they were trying to find their identity. And granted Minnesota and Colorado are by no means easy opponents, but tonight I felt like that physical running game, putting Harburg in, second and manageable situations, not making him make too many deep, Hail Mary, get it all back here type of throws and just controlling the clock. I think this win is exciting for me the most because I see a blueprint on how we can be successful, and not only a blueprint on how we can be successful, but also a blueprint that works in the Big Ten.
And one thing that I thought was interesting, but that I did like with the way Nebraska did, when they got 2nd and 1 or whatever, they just would kind of go and push
Yeah,
Harburg forward for first
yeah,
downs, and I like that he was really effective in those short yard.
yep.
And how many times have we seen Nebraska just absolutely struggle in short yardage situations? So maybe that's something that he can bring to this offense. That like, hey, if it's 3rd and 2 or 2nd and 1, we can just let him kind of run it and let the dudes push from behind and go from there. So I liked that. And I have to give the offensive line credit. I mean, we it's a much maligned group. We criticize them. We were, giving Ben Hart a rough time off the air before we came on here for the, the what's the bull, the Amigo, with the bull riding thing where they
Yeah.
just like, he just
Yeah.
laid him to the quarterback. I mean,
Yeah.
that's not good when you're chasing your guy to the quarterback, but they really established their will in the second half, over 5 yards per
They did.
attempt. And I thought that was impressive. And it just seemed like Matt Rhule was like, and Satterfield too, but it's like, we're going to roll with these guys and we're just going to dominate in the trenches. And that's what they did. And so it was good to see them actually impose their will on somebody like that.
And it was good to see them put together these long drives, if nothing else, to give rest to a defense that I really thought played fantastic tonight. They were swarming to the football. I was, did they get two interceptions or only one? Because I know Newsom's one was called back, which
Just the one, I believe. I believe
I
just
believe it was
one.
just the one as well. And I'm not sure why Newsom's was called back. Was there a specific reason?
They said he didn't get his foot in
Which
bounds,
it
and
looked to me like his foot was in bounds, but
I know they never showed the reverse angle of it, which I thought was weird, but
I don't know. But anyway, I mean, the they were swarming to the football once again, and you're really starting to see that in a Tony White defense. If a player's open in the flat or a screen and he tries to run upfield, Nebraska players are swarming everywhere. Uh, I thought Nash played well tonight. Nash Hutchmacher. I thought he was getting into the backfield. I thought Heinrich and played well tonight and I'm just really excited to see this unit come together because you talk about an identity. The defense has certainly established one. They're going to be tough. They're not going to make life easy on opposing quarterbacks, and they're going to swarm to the ball carrier. And it's nice to see, the defense really kind of settle into what they do best. And we talk about finding a blueprint for the offense tonight. The defense has certainly established what they want to do over the first 3 games here, even if the results on the scoreboard haven't been there.
yeah, I mean they're flying to the football. I think that's one. The tackling is really good, and they're just got there was one play where a guy missed a tackle, and then maybe a couple guys missed a tackle, and there was 5 other Huskers there to rally to the football. So that is a noticeable difference, I think. And it's a fast defense. I mean, and Omar Brown has played spectacular, and
Yeah,
it's like
he's been really good.
why didn't he play more last year? He's been really good. And I think one thing that stood out to me just in the secondary was the way that they played the ball. They were really successful at playing the ball and those kind of contested catches. They knocked a lot out, and that's just
Yeah.
something that they didn't do a lot in the that happened like during the Pelini era, but it just hasn't. That did not really happen. Nebraska did not play the ball well, under the previous staff for whatever reason, and so it's been good to see that happen. And yeah, it's fun to watch this defense and Hutch. Maker, Robinson, the young guys, and really all the linebackers. I mean, they've got like 6, 7 linebackers that were playing tonight, and they all played well. Sherman, Chief Borders, Heinrich, Reimer. I mean, all of them. It was really fun to watch.
And you're seeing, guys like Van Poppel get some action out there. I mean, you're seeing them rotate personnel really well. And I think one thing, although I'm not sure if it was Tommy Hill or I forget who it was. There was one play where he didn't look back for the ball. I think it was Singleton actually. Deshaun Singleton didn't look back for the ball and he got a penalty. But other than that, I thought they've done a really good job of looking back for the ball in coverage. Because truth be told, as long as you look back for the ball and then you make a play, they're probably not going to call a penalty on you. It's when you don't look back at the ball and you guard your man and shove him to the ground that they call it. So they've done a good job with that as well because penalties, um, as far as pass interference penalties and not looking for the ball, have been an issue with previous staffs. And I think they've done a much better job this year at, not committing penalties or at least, trying to play the man as well as possible.
Yeah, I think that they've definitely just improved fundamentally, and the way that they're able to get after the quarterback. I think is one of the best things about it. Good to see you join the chat, Chad. Go Big Red. It's nice to just be on a win after tonight, after the last 2 weeks,
Tommy
and
Hill, actually, I wanted to give a shout out to him. I mean, I know
yeah, he
he's
played
played
well.
wide receiver here, corner, but we're finally seeing what he can do and why he was thought of as a highly touted prospect, and he played really well tonight, and he's played well over the past couple games here.
He has played well, and they keep using him kind of as a receiver too. And I'm still, waiting for some of these younger receivers to get a chance. It's been mostly the veteran guys, but look, it takes those veteran guys to win, especially in the Big Ten Conference. And they've got one more. They've got Louisiana Tech next week, and then then it's Michigan, and it's go time. It's the last 8 games. There's Northwestern, maybe you could say is a fairly easy game, but there's no easy wins in the Big Ten. Even with the Big Ten West probably being down overall, it's still going to be a challenge every single week. But if they can translate this formula, then they're going to win a lot of games. And I think this is, like you said, it's the kind of football that Nebraska fans have been clamoring for a long time. I mean, 226 to 24 in terms of the rushing yardage. That's Nebraska football right there.
And honestly, I think you might see some of the younger receivers once the offense figures out its identity. I mean, we saw what they could do tonight. Now let's see if they can do it again next week. And then maybe we'll say, okay, now we know what type of offense this runs. But I think right now it's just been trying to figure out what they can do and what their capabilities are on the unit. And then maybe we'll see some freshman wide receivers. Although, if we have a running team and we run the football a lot, then there might not be as many passing opportunities, but I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. I mean, Northwestern a couple of years ago made it to the Big Ten championship game, I believe it was, with a running identity, and Illinois last year. I mean, Wisconsin. It seems like every time they play us, have a good running back. So I think once we find the offensive identity, more opportunities for more players will come to fruition.
It will be. I am interested to see, how quarterback plays out and how Matt Rhule handles that,
Mhm.
because it's always that thing. You don't want someone to lose their job to injury. So I don't know what my guess is that, it didn't look like Jeff Sims was all that mobile tonight, in the warm up. So I don't think that they're going to say he's like ready to play next week. And, I think Harburg's going to play. And then after that, who knows? But if I'm wondering if it maybe, there ever could be a 2 quarterback system. But, I think Matt Rhule is hopefully smart enough that if he's playing well and winning, that, he deserves the chance to keep rolling with it, I think.
Don't make the same mistake Scott Frost did by hitching your wagon to Adrian Martinez, in this case, Jeff Sims. Play the quarterback that can win you football games. And I think right now, tonight at the very least, it's Heinrich Harburg. And I have to give a shout out to Sims here. I know I've been dunking on him this morning and right now, but I have to give a shout out. He was giving Harburg encouragement on the sideline, and trying to be a good leader. And it must be tough to watch as a starting quarterback. Another quarterback succeed and play well, and you realizing that you have to fight for your job. But I mean, to me, this is definitely a quarterback battle, and I think competition is good, and we'll see who comes out on top.
Competition, I definitely think it is a good thing. It was good to see Chuba Purdy, get out there just to see that he's healthy enough to play.
Yeah,
But yeah, it was Polar Bear taking over from
he did.
Chad, showing what good coaching can do. Yeah, he's been really
He's been
dominant.
yep,
The
really good.
entire defensive front has. So yeah, that's been really fun to watch. And those guys like Ty Robinson and Hutchmaker are definitely living up to their recruiting rankings, and their status is at least Robinson is a 4-star. I can't remember on Hutchmaker, but at any rate, those guys, this run defense is legit. I mean, it is legitimately hard to run against Nebraska right now, and that's not something we've really been able to say the last 5 years.
And I've been really, really impressed with Omar Brown too. I mean, we knew he was good because he had a high pedigree coming into the program. He didn't really get too many opportunities last year, and now he's getting opportunities, and he's showing why he was so highly regarded, and he's making the most of his chances.
Definitely, yeah. I love his game. Just he's always around the football. Yeah, it was a good effort all around. And Tony White, just like I said before, I love how he's mixing things up. He'll drop 8 guys one time, then the next time he'll bring 7 on a blitz. And but that's what you need to do. Keep the quarterbacks guessing. And yeah, it was an impressive effort. I mean, really, if you think about it, if there's not the fumble, and if they don't score, the garbage time touchdown, Nebraska didn't give up any points in this game, basically. So It was a really great job by the defense, and hopefully it'll be, Louisiana Tech. I don't know a ton about them, haven't researched a ton about them, but I do know that they're, you know, an air raid, air raid type offense. So the secondary and then those guys are going to get challenged next week.
We'll get to see old friend Dakotas Crawford, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I wonder if he's healthy with the ACL tear. But anyways, yeah, Chad says a lot of guys getting chances on defense. There
Yeah.
are a lot of guys playing on defense. I like that. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, definitely, and it makes it easier to recruit. You say you can play in your first year, get action in your first year, and guys want to hear that. Guys want to play now, and guys want to be able to make an impact as soon as possible. So, you know, I, I'm honestly very, very worried about Tony White leaving. I don't know when that will be, but I mean, we just got to enjoy him while he's here because I don't think he's going to be, a 6-year member of the Nebraska football coaching staff.
No, I don't think so either. I mean, he's definitely, I think, yeah, he's definitely way too good of a coach to stick around for that long. But yeah, he's my favorite hire of all the coaching, all the assistant coaches, I guess, excuse me, right now. And I think he's really made an impact on this defense. And I do think that, you know, even though the results, it's football is so interesting. If we had played this game, earlier, if this was the first game, we'd have such a different, impression of Coach Rule. Or even if we had won the Minnesota game, we'd have a different impression. But,
Yeah.
you look at, especially Minnesota and these, Nebraska's a tough team. This is a tough team. They run the football, they stop the run, they pressure the quarterback. The quarterback protection, that bit needs to get a little bit better, but they're doing a lot of the fundamental things that you need to do to win. It's just if they can continue to cut out the turnovers and stuff, I think they're on a really good path to still making a bowl game. I mean, it's still well within reach, obviously, and that's, to me, that's always been the goal this season. Just get to postseason play. I think that's a really important hurdle that you need to get over.
And they did a really good job of cutting down the turnovers tonight. So, I thought that was a step in the right direction. And, we saw a few mental mistakes in the red zone. So that was really good. And they actually converted in the red zone. I mean, they made Tristan Alvano's life easy with the extra points for the most part. And, that's what we need. That's what we need. And I know it may seem fundamental, but, in this game, and anything can happen on any given Saturday. And so, I mean, we almost saw Florida State lose to Boston College, for example, and Alabama. I can't remember if they were able to win or
Yeah, 17-3 they won,
okay,
but
but they
still.
they were given trouble, and then even Georgia today was given trouble by South Carolina, but they were able to pull it off. So, it's just a crazy game, and it hopefully more of the bounces go our way. But today was a step in the right direction.
What's going to be fun, I think, is if Nebraska, can have a similar performance like this next week and build, then they're going to have some confidence with Michigan coming in, and that will lead to, a really electric atmosphere. And like Michigan didn't play that well tonight. They had 4 turnovers and won like 31-6. They're 0-3 against the spread. So I mean, they're with the way that they run the ball or they try to run the ball. I mean, I think Nebraska can slow down their running game. I really do.
It's
And
going to be an interesting chess match.
yeah, I think, I definitely could see Nebraska, holding their offense in check. I just think, they have to find a way to, protect against that defensive line, which isn't going to be easy, but I do think they can make that game competitive. I really do.
And rest assured, folks, even though Chris may be conflicted on who to root for in the Michigan game, you can count me to be 100% pro Nebraska once that game happens. And it's kind of crazy when you think about the last two Michigan matchups. We should have won in 2021. We put up a good fight in 2022. Let's see what's in store for 2023.
Yeah, I wish it was a night game. I think that would help, but, it'll be a fun atmosphere. It would be something. I really hope that, I'm not saying it's going to happen with that game against Michigan, but it would be great to get a win like that at some point to beat, Wisconsin or not, like somebody that's ranked this year, just to,
Wisconsin doesn't look good. Speaking of Wisconsin,
yeah, well, I guess they beat Georgia Southern today, but Iowa I know struggled, and they're who they are. So, I mean, I think Nebraska can beat every single team in the Big Ten West. I mean, they could have beat Minnesota easily. So,
yeah.
I've said all along Michigan's the hardest game, on the schedule. Yeah, I agree, Chad. We're gonna have a really hard time scoring on Michigan's only given up 16 points in 3 games so far. So yeah, we are gonna have a hard time
Yeah.
scoring. The defense is gonna have to, like, that's one of those games you're gonna have to be like +2 in the turnover margin, probably at least, or have like a punt return or something like that. But you just make what I think what Nebraska is going to be really good at doing is kind of that formula for the Minnesota game. Just make it quick, low scoring, run the clock, get it to the fourth quarter, and see what happens. And that's really the formula that you have. If you're not the more talented team, that's what you got to do. And I think Nebraska's has a. I mean, they were basically following that formula against Colorado until the wheels just totally fell off with the turnovers.
And not for nothing, but the clock stoppage after first downs makes the game go very fast now. I was noticing it tonight. I mean, we were done with the first quarter, like 20 minutes regular time into the game, and so I mean, I think if you want to control the clock, that now works in your favor as well.
Yeah, and the other thing too, it's when players step out of bounds instead of before the clock stopped for the entire time, and now they're restart. Maybe that actually wasn't a change, but at any rate, yeah, I have noticed that, and there is like about 15 fewer plays per game, so I do like that aspect of it.
I
But
do too.
at any rate, guys, if you have any other comments or questions, I'm about ready to get ready to go to bed, so I'm about ready to wrap it up
Me
here.
too. Yeah. I got one more article in me, and then I'm probably gonna go to bed. And but I'll go to bed happy. I won't go to bed frustrated. And my Twitter feed will be peaceful and blissful for at least another week. So I can always that's always a good thing too, because sometimes sometimes I need a break. But today and tomorrow and this week, I'll be happy to look at my Twitter, and it's on to Louisiana Tech. Let's see if we
on
can get
to
to 500.
on to Louisiana Tech. Yeah, it would have been a scary place. I told my wife Nebraska Twitter is going to be unbearable if they don't win this game. So,
I was
I'm
not
gl-
looking forward to it.
I'm glad that we that happened. I know everybody's probably the Lincoln economy right now, the downtown Lincoln economy with the bars is probably buzzing with some success. So everybody can enjoy the night. We'll be back on Monday, with another episode of our podcast. So anybody watching it on the replay, make sure you hit that subscribe button, comment and getting share, let your friends know if they're Nebraska football fans. And as always, also check out HuskerBigRed.com before I forget. But as always, you guys, thanks a lot and go Big Red.
Go Big Red.